Hello everybody! My name is Andrew Woodward. I'm the owner of a company called Aero-Gro, and I welcome you to DIY Aeroponics. And if you're just joining us for the first time, this is the live version of the show. We have some recorded videos as well, but the purpose of this live broadcast is to bring you some techniques and some ways of working with aeroponics and hydroponics at home inexpensively that are the result of the work that we've done here at Aero-Gro as part of our research. And we thought that let's bring it to people at home. Let's let them build their own systems if they want to. Show everybody exactly what tools and techniques and parts and so forth that we use to put these systems together when we're experimenting. And what I'm going to show you today, I'm really excited about this actually, because this is really the nuts and bolts of where I have fun with all of this the most, which is playing the mad scientist and experimenting with parts and putting together hydroponic systems. And one of our viewers I know who I believe is viewing tonight, he sent me a comment from the last video and said that it was enjoyable, but that we should delve a little deeper into some of these topics, and I promised that I would, and that's what we're going to do tonight. And what I'm showing you tonight, the reason this is so exciting is this literally what you see in the table in front of you, not including some buckets that I have down here beside me. This is literally something you can build at home in under, 20 minutes or so, once it's all unpacked. What do you mean unpacked? He says. Well, since the last video, if you saw that one, I had a demonstration unit. It was white and it had a couple of clear acrylic containers, and it showed you with the pumps and the timers how the whole thing works in aeroponics. And if you remember that, I said that these are the parts that you can use to put together your own system. Well, since last week until today, I got to thinking about how convenient that is, that all the same parts that I was using for experimentation during the development of new products are the same parts that I had in the demonstration model, which are the same parts that ultimately wind up being used in actual systems, right? So I thought, why don't I just offer this entire thing as a kit, right? Because what is it? It's a whole bunch of parts that anybody can put together at home. That's the whole idea. And what's missing from the equation, the only thing that was different than just a pile of parts that you could buy from the store, that anybody could buy from the store, was a way to put them all together in a nice, neat package so that it's neat and tidy and organized in your home when you're using it, right? More convenient to use. That wasn't part of the original plan, but now it's part of the plan. So what we have here, let me show you this is pretty cool. Let me show you the overhead camera here. The overhead camera will show you pretty much the entire kit. All right, here we go. So if you remember from last week, there was a motor for spraying the nutrient solution, right? There was a motor for returning the nutrient solution from the grow chamber back to the nutrient tank. That's the job of this motor here. There was a timer for each one of the motors. So there was one controlling the growth cycle, meaning there was one that was set to automatically deliver nutrients every once in a while for about 5 seconds. And then there was the return module, which every once in a while would turn on for about 10 seconds and return the nutrient solution back to the nutrient tank, right? Thus completing the cycle and making one full hydroponic or aeroponic cycle. Okay, these are the parts that were involved. What you're looking at in front of you is essentially everything that's required to build a self-contained, closed-loop aeroponic system that you can use in the home. It will include one bucket that you can grow a large plant out of or several small plants. But there are two buckets. The one, I'll show you those in a moment. The one is a nutrient bucket. The other is a grow bucket where the plant actually grows. So you have those two buckets in addition to what you're seeing here. The green parts that you're looking at here, they're just a few of them. But what this is is a way of assembling all of this together in a nice, neat, orderly way that is really fast. It's indestructible. This is made out of a material called PETG, P-E-T-G. It's 3D printed. These are all 3D printed parts. Everything you see that's green is 3D printed, right? So this part is 3D printed. I'll show you what that does in a minute. These are 3D printed. This is one part, then the middle part, and then the bottom part. There's 3 parts here actually, right? So what I do, or what I decided to do this week, is to offer all of this, including the 3D printed parts, as part of a kit that you can put together at home. It's extremely easy to do. That was job number 1, was making it very, very easy to assemble. And the way that that was accomplished is that everything would show up pre-wired. So for example, a timer would have some letter codes on each wire. You just match up A to A, B to B, C to C, and so forth. Very simple, could not possibly be any simpler. And all of these wires are already attached. It tells you exactly what the timer does. And I'll show you how all this works in a moment, so you can actually build one for yourself if you want, or if you'd rather not, you can order the kit. But in any case, all the parts are the same, which means that these are all the parts that are listed in the description of this video that are easily available from either Amazon or Alibaba. You can build it yourself, no problem at all. But I made it in this form, first of all, to make it easier to explain, because I wanted to label everything so that you would understand on camera what was happening. And then it occurred to me that it would make a great kit. But yeah, everything's easily labeled. Like I said, it's alphabet soup. It's A to A, B to B, C to C. That's how the whole thing is put together, whether it's the bucket itself or the kit itself, the electronic components themselves. And with that, I will clear this to the side, and I will get the buckets out, and we'll see how all this goes together. Now, actually, before we do that, before I dig out these big buckets and ruin our nice display here, why don't we go ahead and, yeah, that makes sense. Why don't we go ahead and assemble this? And we can, let's see, that's camera 3, yep. Assemble this panel here, and you can see how this works. So just imagine that you have all these wired up and ready and sitting in front of you at home, and you're about to wire this up. So what has shown up either in the mail or as part of your kit is 3 parts here. All right, there we go, 1, 2, 3. All right, so this front panel is just to hold the 2 timers, obviously. 2 timers, spray out, and the return line here. And like I said, this is PETG plastic. It's very, very durable. This stuff is amazing. And I've been printing with it for a very long time. The back side of this actually will fit, well, you'll see the wiring for the timers in a moment, but your pumps rather, will fit right into, they'll snap right into place in the back of this unit. It's very, very convenient. And the reason that I do this is just to make it easier to work with, but you really, if you wanted to, if you just want to order these parts on your own and build your own at home, and you don't have a 3D printer and you don't want to use this or whatever the case may be, you can, as I did a long time ago, you can make these out of just wood or whatever, anything you have around the house. The whole point is that you just need something to hold all the bits and pieces together. It can be anything you want. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way to do it, but this is just the convenient way that I had because, you know, I'm in 3D printing. It's part of my process, and it made sense. Also, by the way, I will include what's called the STI file, which is the file that if you have a 3D printer, you can go ahead and print these yourself and do what I'm doing here on camera today using these exact parts. And it won't cost you anything other than your own time and filament and electricity. So again, PETG, this is PETG, and if you're printing in something else, that's fine. But you can order this as a kit if you don't want to hassle with any of that. So that's a printed part, and this is the bottom piece of it. And what happens is you simply insert this into here. It's just a slot like that. That's it. And then you insert the top, which has a hanging wire attached to that. It looks a little bit like a clothes hanger. It's made out of copper. Okay, like that, right? And yeah, And just like that. And then we're going to set those to the side. They're part of a different part of this process. So let me set these over here also. These are the fittings for the bucket, which we'll get to in a moment after we've assembled this panel. So now what we have is the panel, the 2 timers, and the 2 pumps. And that's basically the entire system with very little left. I'll show you how that works. Check this out. So you have the spray out timer, spray out timer, slips in here. That's done. Return timer. Right? Right? Turn it over. And you can place these, I'm trying to think, there is a logical way. I think the spray, let me think a second. The spray out was, I think, faced to the right. Yeah, I had a way I did this earlier that made a lot of sense. I wanted to do this on camera. I think this is right. I might have to swap these back in a moment. But in any case, they pop right into place. And, oh wait, yeah, once I turn it over, the spray, yeah, I think this is the other way. Sorry. I think I have these reversed. Let me just pop this around. Oops. Like that. I think, I don't know, we'll see. I think that's right, we'll see. So how this works is, again, it's alphabet soup. So we have spray out, and the wire is labeled with an A on there, if you can see that. And that simply gets plugged into the A, whoops, put it this way, the A on the spray out pump, right? A to A, A to A, plug A into A. And then, of course, same idea, logically, the return line, which is B, gets plugged into B. Where are you, B? You're hiding. There you are. B, which is on the return line, right? Boom, B. That's it, right? And then you have 2 power supply cables marked with a C. Both of them are marked with a C because they're both about to go to a what's called a pigtail connector, which will connect them together, and they're both marked with a C. Okay, so watch this. Bring over the pigtail connector. Here we go. There is the pigtail connector who was making weird noise, like I was in a cartoon. Marked with C. So C gets plugged into C. The other C gets plugged in to the other C. There it is. Do you see? I see. There we go. Let's see what happens. There we go. All right, that's your power. So your power now is being split. Half of the power is going to the top timer, half of the power is going to the bottom timer, and then when their job is up, they will activate each one of these pumps. The first pump, the spray pump, delivering the nutrient solution to the grow chamber, the bucket, the grow bucket, and the return line picking up the used or the nutrient solution that doesn't get used by the plant, returns to the bottom of the bucket, and the return line picks it up and returns it back to the nutrient solution bucket. Just like last week in the video that we saw, that's how that works. That's what these will do, right? Okay, so there we go. It's done. Basically, this showed up and it was put together in, what, a minute or something? I mean, really, I don't even think it took that long. If we were to try to do it fast, it would probably take 20 seconds. But that is one whole unit. I know it's a bit rustic looking, but hey, this is DIY. So this is what gets hung by the chimney with care. Now this is what gets hung on the bucket, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But this little hole right here was originally intended to be for a power supply, but I nixed that idea. So yours, if you decided to get this one, it would not have that little hole in it. I've done away with that. I've done away with it. All right, so now we have the unit which we're going to put on the bucket in a moment. I'm going to set that over there. There we go. It's like a little, it's even like a little stand. You just, boom. Just love this thing. Okay, so there we go. That is your entire hydroponic system in a single unit. Now, we have two buckets. We have the Aero-Bucket, which is where your plants live, and their roots dangle in the bottom inside. And then we have the nutrient bucket, okay? So these always sit side by side. So which is my left? There we go. The nutrient bucket has anywhere from 1 to 4 or 5 gallons of nutrient solution, and it as much as you want to make, really. And a gallon is what I would recommend. That'll keep whatever's in here going for a few days at least, depends what's growing. But 5-gallon bucket is what you want. Once these plants get going and they're very large, which is what you can do with a bucket, you can grow plants that are much larger and taller and bushier and heavier and fruit producing than you can with smaller systems. So once these plants are big and bushy and growing, they will go through quite a bit of nutrient solution. So it seems like overkill right now. But these 5-gallon nutrient solution buckets really do get the job done, and you will require that amount of nutrient solution with a full growing plant that's thirsty and hungry and wanting to make the most of itself inside your grow tent. So you definitely, this is a great matched system. This is a great way to go with these 5-gallon buckets. I would definitely recommend it. The one thing I will say again, I said this last time, do make sure that whatever kind of buckets you get, whether it's these, and there's a link below to these, or whether you get the kit, these would be included in the kit. 2 of these buckets with the tops already pre-cut, pre-drilled. I'll show you that in a second. And these buckets are available. They would, obviously, if you order these on Amazon, they wouldn't be labeled or drilled or any of that. I do that here if that's what you want as part of the kit. But they're available in sets of 3. And they're fantastic. The reason I like these is that as a developer, as a product developer, I like that they have these cutouts in the top because I can put instruments in here, and I like these raised bits. I can put return lines and all kinds of things can go on here in a very organized way, and I really like that. These are great buckets. Also, very important to mention, I almost mentioned it before, is that they're food safe. So that's super duper important. The buckets that you'll get at, for example, Home Depot, the white ones are food safe, and it'll say food safe on the side. Those are the ones that people use in the fall to brine their turkey, right? The white ones are food safe. Orange. The orange ones, and for those, I believe it's the blue bucket, they are not food safe. So the chemicals that are used in plastic manufacture can leach into the water or into the nutrient solution and then go into the plants and then go into you, and you don't want that. So you need to make sure you use food grade, food safe plastic buckets, and that's what these are. These are called Gamma 2 buckets, and they're fantastic. Obviously they're a bit pricier than the buckets you'll get at Home Depot, which are basically throwaway giveaways, but these are fantastic. They're easy to work with. They'll last forever if you take care of them. And they're easy to clean. And they're completely safe, and I love them. And I think they're reasonably priced, considering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of these down. Let's see. Let's do the Aero-Bucket first. Yeah, the grow chamber where the plants live. All right, because that's a little more exciting. Got to keep you guys engaged. All right. So take a look at this. What we have is a bucket. Ooh, exciting. Yeah. So you'll notice that there is a doohickey on the bottom here that I had trouble showing you in the last video. I'm still having trouble showing you. Oops, got a piece of plastic down there. Sorry. Just made this bucket today. So I had a little trouble showing it to you last time, but there is that drain on the bottom. Okay, so it's just a piece of, let's see if I can get a good shot here. Just a piece of tubing, I'll spin it around. It's just a piece of the blue tubing, right, in a 90-degree elbow, a bulkhead. It's called a bulkhead connector, an elbow, swung around so that the tubing is facing the bottom with just about maybe a 1/4 inch of a gap, an air gap, between the end of the tube and the bottom of the container. And that's just to allow water to actually enter the tube. If it was pushed up against the bottom, it would seal itself, right? So you need to leave a little bit of a gap between the end of the tube and the bottom of the bucket so that you can suck up the used nutrient solution, return it back home. Okay, so that's the inside of the Grow chamber bucket. Very plain, very simple, just a return line. Oh, and also, I did mention this in the other video, but you can adjust how much nutrient solution is left in the bottom of the bucket at any given time by adjusting the height of the tube. So for example, if the space between the tube and the bottom of the bucket was an inch high, then you would have an inch of water in the bottom of the bucket. And that would act as in certain cases, if your plants are really fast growing, that inch of water on the bottom can act like a buffer where if anything were to go wrong in the system, that inch of water would continue to supply nutrients and water to your plant for an extended period of time until you could figure out what's going on and fix it. Right? So use that tube as like an adjustable safety valve. If it's higher, you have more of a buffer zone. If it's lower, you have less of a buffer zone. But that's my tip for you there. And that's the 90-degree bulkhead elbow. And again, there's a link to it in the description for this video. Okay, so the top here of your grow chamber. Remember, this is the one with the plant in it. Eventually, it's going to be sticking out of the top here, growing from the top of the bucket. Has two things going on here, right? We have a place where the plant's going to grow, and then we have a place where the nutrients are going to be sprayed into, right? To fill the chamber with nutrient-rich liquid spray for the roots to soak up and make our plants happy, right? So that's what happens right here. That's the spray port. That's the plant port. So now I'm going to show you something really cool. Well, I think it's cool. I'll see if you think it's cool. This is the 3D printed part I was telling you about. This is pretty much the linchpin for this particular system. This is really kind of what gets the job done using just a regular old plain bucket when it comes to converting the bucket into an aeroponic bucket, something that needs to support a plant and also be able to deliver nutrients cleanly and effectively. And this part gets all that done. How's it do that, you ask? I'm glad you asked. Here I am to answer your question. Okay, so this part just fits right in here. Boop. And on the underside here, whoops, sorry, it's supposed to go like that. How do I know? Because on the underside here, there are a couple of little holes here. And these holes, let me get my little thingamadoogers here, are to, you use these little thumb screws here, and this attaches that holder to the top of the barrel, or to the top of the bucket. I also work with rain barrels, so I use barrels and buckets interchangeably. Okay, there we go. That screws in there. Boom, tighten that up, and then you have, this piece is now solid on there, right? Then what you do is you take one of these foam sponges. Let me see if we can get a little focus better there. Okay, that should be a little better. Get one of these foam sponges, and these are the things that I showed you in the last video that spread apart to allow the plant to grow freely. As it expands, so will the sponge. And this just gets inserted right into here. Boop, just like that, and it sits flush with the top. Push it like that, good to go, right? And what happens is, once your plants are grown, I'll show you this in the next, well, probably won't be the next video, probably be 2 videos from now, but I'll show you how you put a plant into this and then transplant it. That whole process, I'll show you the whole process of transplanting a seedling into the hydroponic chamber where it's going to live the rest of its life. It's pretty cool process. So that's that. Now the A port here, again, it's alphabet soup, and eventually you'll see what I mean here. There's a tube that's going to connect to this, and the tube is marked with an A, so it makes it super easy. This is for your spray nozzle, right? So what we have here is just a simple bulkhead connector. This is a plastic bulkhead connector which is used, I think I mentioned in the last video, for reverse osmosis water filtration systems, but we also use them in hydroponics. Anything where you're working with water, where it has to be food grade and very safe. And this is what you use. So again, there's a link in the description below. You can order these on your own on Alibaba, or they come as part of the kit. So this gets inserted into here, and I use what's called a step drill, shaped like a triangle or a cone, to drill out these holes. It's a good way to drill them. You have to be a little careful you don't go too far, because you can go too far really quickly when you're using a step drill. Because it gets wider as you continue to drill. But it's a quick way to add these holes, which are pretty big holes. And you can order a step drill on Amazon as well. I didn't include a link I will include a link to that in the description. I did not do it yet, but I will. So check down below and you'll probably see it by the time you see this video. Okay, so this just gets attached on here like so. And both ends of this connector, you're able to stick a tube into it. Both ends of this are a quick connect. Tighten it up a little bit, just like that. Bada bing, bada boom, right? Flip it over, and now you have your spray connector connection, right? So what goes into this, make that nice and neat. What goes into this is, we have a little stretch of the blue RO, reverse osmosis tubing. And then we have a T connector with and again, links are below, with a spray nozzle port built into it in line. Right? But because we only need one, I've capped the end of it, because normally, this is, like I said, these fittings are all two-way. You can hook a hose into either end of these ports, right? But I don't need to use a second end of this port. I want to cap it. So I just put that in there. It's capped. But this is now my sprayer, and the other end of this goes into the bottom, like so. Boom. Done. Now, what I want you to see here, though, is that, now remember, this is a 360-degree sprayer, okay? Which means that it's going to be spraying around itself. You can see it, my finger through the hole on the sprayer, right? See that? It's going to be spraying all out of everywhere there, 360 degrees, which means it's going to be hitting the top of the bucket and the bottom of the bucket. That's really important. It's hitting the whole, it's fanning out and hitting the whole plume of roots that are hanging below. And if, by the way, if you want to, in your own designs, you can just add more of these. You can add one to the other side. You can create a Y connection, create two sprayers in here. You can do anything you want. This is just the most basic setup, which works great. And we are going to grow a tomato plant in here, a humongous monster tomato plant. And I'm going to show you how this works, and we're going to do that together. And this is the system that will be used to do that. So stay tuned. So this is your 360-degree mechanism that gets plugged into there. Very, very simple stuff. Okay, boom. Now, our grow bucket, grow chamber is complete. One thing I did not show you, sorry. On the side here is, of course, I showed you the inside of the bucket. I never showed you the outside. This is the 90-degree quick connector port for the return line, which returns the nutrient solution back to the nutrient tank. And it's marked with a B for your alphabet soup game. So the line, let's see, it's over here. This is D, but one marked B would plug into that, and so forth for all of them. It's the same for every single one, right? It's A to A, B to B, C to C, so forth. So that's our Aero-Gro chamber. Now, for our nutrient tank, here we go. Move that to the side. Okay, we have another gamma bucket here, C, D, okay. Sort of read that, okay. So this is our return tank where our nutrients live, and it's just 1 gallon to 5 gallons of nutrient solution. That's all that's going in there. There are no holes in this bottom bucket. It's sealed. It's just a bucket. Food safe, obviously. We talked about that. And you have, again, connectors at the top here, and we're going to use 2 of them. Now, C and D, let me see here, C, well, let me just make sure what I did here with these C, oh yeah, okay. The C is going to be the pickup, whoops, oh, I dropped it. There we go, okay. C is going to be your pickup tube, which is going to have a piece of tubing dangling down to the bottom, and it's going to pick up the nutrient solution from the bottom from a tube. Why do we do that instead of putting a tube at the bottom where it'll just move out with gravity? Well, because things that move with gravity can leak. And if you have a fitting down below on your bucket and it starts to leak, you are going to lose all of your nutrient solution if anything goes wrong. So what do? We use good pumps, in this case a peristaltic pump, and the peristaltic pump is more than capable of lifting the solution out of the bucket safely and taking it where you need it to go, instead of letting it flow out of the bottom or anything like that. That's just sort of inviting disaster in this particular sort of system. So now this is the 90-degree elbow. The only difference here is this particular elbow is black in color instead of white. It's because it's actually made for air. I ran out of these 90-degree fittings a few days ago, and normally this would be white like the others. So just pretend this one's white as well. Having a little trouble getting that started there. Wow, that's a little finicky, isn't it? All right. Come on now. Come on, you parts. Don't you know I'm on live camera? Okay. Let's get that going. There we go. And there. Now let's take a look. So now we have the, oh yes, I have to put this on too for you. A, B, C, D, E. Where is it? And E. There it is. So this little part, which is the pickup tube, is actually E. That's because it's underneath. These letters are for other tubes. This one goes on the underside. I haven't labeled this one yet on the inside. I should label this one also. This is E. So I'm just going to hook this up on camera here. Boom. That's our pickup tube. All right, and that's what picks up the nutrient solution. And then from here, it'll pick it up and carry it further to this. Okay. So now we've got these hooked up, and this is the return line. This is simply going to return the nutrient solution, dropping it. So we don't even need a tube on it. It'll drop it straight from there into the bucket, and that'll create a splash. And that, if you remember from the other video, the splashing action is really good, because the splashing action aerates the nutrient solution and keeps it not fresh, but keeps it aerated so that the really nasty stuff doesn't grow. And that's what we want to do. So now we have the fun part, which is hooking all this up, which is super, super simple. Okay, so what happens here is, let's take the nutrient tank and move that for just a second. I'm going to bring the Aero-Gro chamber back up here. Okay. And then this unit, this little doodad here, is designed to just hang on the side of the bucket. All right, so literally hangs on the side of the bucket. It couldn't be any easier. There's no way this could be easier. I can't think of a way this could be easier. Okay, all right, hangs on the side of the bucket. That's your grow bucket, all right? Then we have the nutrient bucket. Okay, I'm gonna try to get all this to fit here on camera. Actually, let me swap these, because actually that's the way they're designed to go together. Okay, doing everything backwards here on camera, it's a bit confusing. Okay, so we have the, I'm gonna go ahead and get these tubes out here so you can see what we're about to do. All right, these are the tubes that we're about to hook up. And again, everything on here is labeled. And if you remember from the last video, that we are doing 4 different things. We're delivering nutrient solution to the spray head, Then we are taking the leftover solution from the grow chamber and sending it back to the nutrient tank. We are picking up nutrient solution from the tank and delivering it back over again. It's a closed system, right? So all of this is happening at one time. So what we have here are our letter-coated tubing. We have an A, right? A goes into, oops, get my focus here again. A goes into A, like that, right? And then, if you look right down here to the tubes on the, see, I wish I could show that entire thing to you, but that is the, that's what we're calling the spray out pump, right? And it has the A and the C tubes on it. That focus again. Come on. There we go. Okay, that has the A and the C. So all I do is I take this A and I plug it into the A. All right. And then I take C, all right? And then I plug C into the C tube here on the pump. And then, can't quite see it on camera, I'll move this over. I take the other end of C and I plug it into the pickup. Ooh, wow, yeah, you gotta push pretty hard on those sometimes. You have to push a little bit harder than you think. And eventually you'll feel it seat, and it'll be very firm seating, and it feels good. You can tell when it's in there properly. And okay, that's C. Okay, so remember we have D up here. We're gonna get to that in a moment. Move this back over here. Show you the other side here if I can. Yeah, it's showing up okay. All right. Get my focus on there. Okay, so now we have B and D, right? So we have B, this is nutrient return again, which is going to pick up the leftover nutrient solution and return it back to the nutrient tank. And then we have D. Okay, there we go. I'm going to slide these over again. And this is the one that will actually return the liquid to the tank through the top of the nutrient tank. Remember that? Just like that. Okay. So now, ta-ta-da, we have a complete, whoops, everything's backwards. All right. It's throwing me off here. Yeah, it looks very space age, but it's actually very simple. So let me plug this in. Let's get our power supply, which has disappeared on the floor down here. If I survive this, it's going to be really cool. Okay. All right, let's plug this in. Fingers crossed. Boom. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, because we need something in the nutrient tank for it to pick up, I'm just going to pour about a gallon. We'll pretend this is nutrient solution. It's not really, it's just water. We'll pretend that's nutrient solution. Okay, so now in a few moments, 7 seconds, it will pick up and start spraying, and you might see some pop out the top here. Oh, yeah, it's spraying. I thought there would be, I was hoping, I kind of had my fingers crossed that there'd be a really dramatic shot of the spray spraying out of the top, but it wasn't quite lined up to do that. I don't want to get myself sprayed here. Okay, so, all right, so inside here, the sprayer sprays every, well, I have it set for 1 minute. Right now it's returning the solution back to the nutrient tank. So now it just took some and returned it back again, right? So it will maintain itself that way. So if you have the programming set correctly, and I have guidance on how to do that, it'll just run forever that way. As long as you keep adding the nutrient solution to the one side and keeping it circulating and adding back the water and nutrients that are being used by the plants on an active basis, it'll keep going. And we'll also be covering how to test the nutrient solution on the fly, so that you, because one of my viewers did point out that when you have a closed system like this, your nutrient solution can become unstable after a certain amount of time. And the answer to that, of course, is that we actively check it and we make sure that the nutrient solution is staying within the parameters that we need based on the plants that we're growing. And I'll show you how to do that. But this is the basic system. So using the parts that using the parts that are available in the description below, you could build this system for well under $100. Or you can buy the kit, which will be, I don't know yet. I don't know what the pricing is going to be. It's probably going to be around $200 for everything you see here, for the 3D printed parts, the buckets, the electronics, the whole thing. And this will allow you to grow 1 mega plant inside of a grow tent. And I'm going to show you in the next video how to set up the grow tent with this system right here, how to hang the light, how to feed the cables and all that kind of thing. And we'll do that in the next video. So if you have any questions on how this works or how these parts go together or anything else, just let me know in the comments. Don't forget that if you want more videos like this, videos on how to DIY your own aeroponics and hydroponic systems at home using easy to find parts that are inexpensive, and I can show you how to do all this. That's why you want to subscribe to this channel. There's going to be a lot more of this. So stay tuned, stay up to date, stay growing, and thank you for being here. Thank you for checking out this video, and we will check you out. We'll see you next week with a video on setting all this up inside the grow tent. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.